Hello everybody, and welcome to what's obviously not a review video. Since I'm still on hiatus and I'm feeling hungry, I thought I might share with you guys what I like to make sometimes. This is called Aloo Keema. It's a Pakistani dish. I'm from Pakistan if you guys didn't know. And basically it translates to potato mince. Aloo means potato, Keema means mince. Mince meat specifically. Now I'm going to be using beef mince. You guys can use turkey mince, chicken mince, lamb mince, whatever you want. But the basic recipe should stay about the same. So, to get started, we're going to get yourself a nice big pan and get yourself some onions. Now, I'm too lazy to chop onions right now, so I got myself some diced onions. These are frozen, so I'm just going to put a bit of these in. And that should be enough for one serving. Get yourself a nice wooden spoon, if that's what you like to work with. I find it to be best for stirring this thing later on, because there's going to be a lot of stirring involved, I can just tell you right now. So, since these are frozen onions, and of course it goes without saying, if you guys have actual onions and you want to cut them, yes, that would be actually better. But just want to show you that this can be thrown together quite easily. You don't need supposedly fresh ingredients all the time. So I put this much onion in. This is about half an onion which has been diced, and I'm using white onions. Traditionally I do believe we use red onions in Pakistan, but you know, the taste is pretty good both ways. And I'm going to also add, now as you can see, the onions are starting to steam a bit. What I really need to do is add a bit of sunflower oil or vegetable oil, or even olive oil if you guys want. I've made this with olive oil, tastes great. Now, what you need to do is, I put about, I think, 2 tablespoons in there. You want to fry the potatoes a bit. Not too much, you don't want them to burn or anything, but you definitely want them to have some brown to them. That sweet onion smells already all over the place. For any of you who has done Pakistani or Indian cooking before, this process will be quite familiar to you. A lot of stuff that we do starts off with the frying of onions, and then you add other ingredients on top, and in the end you end up with a curry or a masala or something. And these are browning quite quickly, in fact. They may still seem white, but when I stir them I can see the brown coming out. And what you want to do is give it a few more seconds, and then I'm going to add probably the single most important ingredient, other than of course the beef and the potatoes themselves. The spices. Now this is a hearty blend of spices right here. I'll write in the description what they are exactly, but off the top of my head, you've got 1 teaspoon coriander powder, 1 teaspoon cumin powder, 2 teaspoons heaped of red chili powder, and I recommend you get this from an Indian store, because when I lived in America, the supermarket stuff didn't cut it. And half a teaspoon of turmeric, salt to taste. I put maybe like 1 teaspoon in there, probably add a little bit more later. And yeah, that's the spice blend right here. Now you want to add this while you have to add this while the onions are frying. Okay, I'm quite satisfied with how the onions look now. I'm going to add my spice blend into the onion mix. Now this may look very strange, you're adding a huge bunch of powder into a bunch of onions, which still look very dry because the oil has been quite well separated in this pot. But once you mix it up, it'll start making a lot of sense. You should turn yourself on the fan, because this part really starts to smoke. Also, I recommend turning the heat down a bit, which I just did. So you've got this really spicy looking blend of onions right here. Now, you want to act quickly. You don't want them to burn. So I'm going to quickly add my beef mince. So you want to grab this, break this up, and put it in there. Now it's been in clumps because it was actually frozen before. So you want to break up these clumps of beef into the pot. Now you're going to have to work against time to really hurry up and get everything nicely sorted in terms of being mixed together. And since this beef was frozen before and it's been in the fridge defrosting basically over time, I gotta work extra hard. I would definitely recommend doing this recipe with fresh meat if you can, or just lightly refrigerated if you can, if possible. But I'll make do. You just gotta work really hard to break up any clumps because you want this thing to flow nicely. As the heat makes it a bit softer, break it up. Before you're wondering, this recipe is definitely going to be well done meat. I know a lot of people have a stigma against that, but it's very necessary for what you're going to be seeing. And this is not a very quick dish to make. I would say preparation time and cooking time, probably about 45 minutes to an hour in total. This is just the preliminary part. While the beef is cooking, you want to go ahead and add yourself 1 light teaspoon of minced garlic paste. Of course, if you have actual garlic, go ahead and use that instead. I would cook it at around the beginning with the onions, or slightly after the onions are brown. And of course, if you want a little bit more kick, add yourself a little bit of ginger paste, just half a teaspoon. Once again, mix that in thoroughly. Now you guys may be wondering, why does this guy have so few ingredients in such a big pan? Or it's a big pot rather. It's because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be following up that you will need the space for. Trust me on that much. So, as you can see, the meat is starting to be well done. There's still red in there, there's still pink, but as a whole, it's looking quite well. But we're not done yet. We need the pink to go away before the next part. Basically, try to chop up the little pink bits until they're well embedded and they start touching the surface of the pan. And then they turn brown, just like the rest of it. This beautiful, very dark brown minced beef. And of course, give it a good stir quite often. Now, is this a traditional dish? I'm really not sure, but it's something that I've been eating since I was a kid. Something I see my parents eat, something I see my family eat. This next part, now this is quite a common recipe on YouTube. You can definitely go ahead and find so many different versions of this. There's a version which uses tomato paste or real tomatoes in your cooking. I don't really like that, so this is just my take on it. But another thing that's my take on it, or rather my family's take on it, which I haven't seen on YouTube yet, is the use of whole Greek yogurt in your cooking. Quite similar to Arab cooking, they use quite a lot of Greek yogurt in the marinade, basically, when it comes to cooking meat, because it gives a bit of a sourness to the meat, which is really nice. It's really what I like when I'm eating Aloo Keema, and if it doesn't have that ingredient in it, I can definitely tell when I'm eating other people's. So what we do is, you're going to take 2 of these, 2 heaped tablespoons of Greek yogurt. You can use 0-fat Greek yogurt. I've done it in the past. It's worked a charm. In fact, let me use 2.5 tablespoons this time. And of course, just like every time else, you want to give it a good stir. Now, you'll see a bit of yellow in there right now. That is the turmeric, of course. and you need to embed the yogurt in the beef really nicely. It'll turn kind of whitish yellow and brown, and give off this feeling of which this will definitely change in a while. Alright, now you want to add the potatoes. Now, I have some baby white potatoes right here, which I've cut. Now, traditionally they skin the potatoes before they put them in. I really don't care. I think it tastes better this way. But in they go. Now, you want thick cut potatoes. Now, I used to make the mistake of cutting them too thin. That's not good. You want them to get really soft in there. You want them to get really well embedded without overwhelming the taste of the meat itself, which is what happens if you have too many small slices of potato. So just embed the potatoes in there like this. Make sure you get all that spice into the potato. So the potatoes are going to go from the yellow color that they were into a bit more of a brownish tint. By now you can see the yogurt is well embedded into the rest of the ingredients. Now we're just going to put the final thing in before I put this to rest for quite a decent amount of time. Now when it comes to potatoes, I want to just say one thing. If you guys want to put something else, carrots, cucumbers, stuff like that, don't do it right now. I would save that for after this part of the cooking is done, and then when you have to make something afterwards, you can pour this out onto a plate, then add the extra ingredients if you want to turn this into some kind of salad or some kind of, I don't know, if you want to make a burrito out of this, which I would recommend, add those separately. If you add them right now, it's going to overwhelm what's the delicate balance of the two main ingredients that are going in right now, which are the meat and the potatoes. You really don't want to do that. Now I'm not sure how much water that was, but if you can see from the pan, just from the pan, I hope you're able to tell. Basically, I've lightly submerged all the ingredients in here. Got the beef in there. Now you want to make sure before you put the lid on this thing that the potatoes are well submerged into the new amount of water that I put in. Once again, this water is not cold. It's not warm, it's not boiling water. This is just general tap water. Okay, now you're going to put a lid on. Now you can cover it up completely like this, and the result that will give you is that the potatoes will cook a bit faster, but you also want the water to dry up. You don't want it to stay wet. So what you could do, and I particularly like doing this because I like my Aloo Keema to be a little bit drier than other people's. What I like to do is I like to leave this a bit open, like this. Turn up the heat slightly. Right now it's about low to medium. Now it's going to stay like this quite a while, so we'll be back after 10 minutes. So you lift it up, take a look inside. That's what I want to see. I want to see it nicely embedded in there. You see everything has fallen flat and the heat is equally distributed. But even so, you want to give it a bit of a stir to make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom of the pan. This is of course a non-stick pot, but doesn't matter. Sometimes that happens and you don't want it to burn. Because if you leave it down there too long, the ingredients will burn. Particularly the beef. You don't want there to be black in the beef. So I'm quite satisfied with that bit of a mix. I'm going to put the lid back on most of the way and give it another 10 minutes. Just to give a bit of a different angle, let me just lift the pot up to show you guys what's going on inside. You can see everything's nicely being stewed. You've got the spicy potatoes, you've got the spicy beef, and you've got everything else being cooked really well. That is what I want to see. I want to see that color, I want to see that texture, and I want to see that flavor, which I'm going to be. But the potatoes are still a bit hard. So what you need to do now is turn the heat on low as possible, and you need to still let them stew a bit. This time, since the water has pretty much dried up, you can cover it entirely. Now what you need to do is, you need to understand, the potatoes need to be decently soft. I like them to have a bit of shape still. Traditionally this dish is cooked a lot wetter, and it's cooked a lot longer, so the potatoes get really soft and the meat gets really soft. But I like it to be a bit of shape to both, because if I want to put them in a burrito, it's better to have them this way with a little bit drier than usual is what I'm trying to say. And if I want moisture later on, I like to eat them with Greek yogurt as well. Now, when they're in this state, what you can do is you can add a few other things. One of those things is coriander, but I don't have fresh coriander with me. That would be ideal. So what I'm going to use is instead some coriander leaf. So you want to take this off, open up your coriander leaf, get a nice lathering spray. That may seem like a lot, but it's really not. You're going to start mixing it up. Because right now you can see there's a big green over there. You want to mix it up once again. And the mixing is going to come quite often now. Because you want the meat to stay not stuck to the bottom, but you also want the potatoes to become really soft. And they're still a bit hard. So, it needs a little bit more time. And trust me, them being in here for this long won't make a difference to the juiciness of the meat itself. So don't worry about that, my friends who like medium rare stuff. Now, coriander gives it a very nice little bit of a zing, but you can't add it too early, especially if it's the fresh variant with the leaves and all, because it'll burn. Simple as that. Another thing you can add right now this is purely to taste, is garam masala, which literally translates to hot masala, which is a blend of several other spices, which I have right here in this little garam masala. But you don't want to use too much, and you don't want to use it early in the cooking. Why am I not using it at the beginning when I fried the rest of the stuff with the onions? Because this stuff burns. It's like black pepper that way. It can burn. So you don't want to put too much. You just want to take a pinch, about this much, and sprinkle it on the top like this. Maybe just a little more, because I'm feeling like I want extra spice today. The key to a lot of South Asian cooking is embedding everything and watching it all melt together into one big pot. Now my South Asian brothers will be watching this and thinking, that is a dry looking aloo keema. Yeah, if you want it to be a bit wetter, you gotta add more water, you gotta let it stew longer on low heat. But I don't want that. What I want is a bit of more dry consistency, because I want to eat this with flatbread in rolls. And for rolls, you want it to be a bit more dry. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of leakage coming out of your burrito, basically. This can be eaten over rice. It can be eaten with naan, flatbread, stuff like that. You can eat it with a fork, spoon, whatever. I prefer it with flatbread, but I do also like it mixed in with rice. I prefer basmati rice with this. I wouldn't really recommend jasmine rice or something like that. I wouldn't recommend sweet rice either. So I really want this to become softer. So I'm going to cover it up completely for 5 more minutes. Whoa, that's a lot of steam. Alright, this looks almost pretty much done actually. Let me just test the potatoes. Yeah, they're decently soft. Now they can be a lot softer, like I said. Traditionally these are a bit more softer and they're cooked a lot longer, so the meat and the potatoes are a bit more of a slushy. I don't know, that's a really weird word to put it. No, not slushy. A bit more soft basically, but I like it to have a bit of texture to it because I do like using these in rolls. And if you want to put these in a burrito, you really don't want it to be too wet, otherwise it'll just drip out of your burrito completely. So this is pretty much done actually. Let me just test the fattest potato I can see. Yep, crushes under my... Ah, it's beautiful. That's not the right color, but I don't have a light over the stove, so I'm going to use my studio light so you guys can really see how this should look. Gotta get yourself one of these. Easy scooping. Scoop yourself a nice helping. Right here. Thank you for watching my first recipe video, I guess. If you guys want me to continue and make some other ones, or some other recipes that I know, let me know. I'll get around to it someday. But until then, and until I get back to my reviews, cheers.